we looked at previously some of our pivot steps. Pivot on the spots was our 0.5. And then we even looked at using our Saloon steps, one of the pivot steps, in utilizing the stepping. Now, when we did that, for example, our skip step plus the Saloon pivot, which was a 1.5 motion, which was like so. Now we're going to be utilizing the Cowboy step pivots. The Cowboy step pivots were where we moved our leg into the open side. So just as a recap, those Cowboy step pivots, if I pivot off the lead foot and move the rear leg moves to the open side. This is my open side here. And so from here, that was going to be my Cowboy step pivot as a nickname. And then if I pivot off the rear leg and move the front leg, and I move that to the open side here, they were my pivots, which were 0.5s. We're going to add that now to our stepping. Now for these to work, these will come about typically with a 2 steps. So it's actually going to be a 2.5. We're going to be doing 2 steps, and then adding the pivot will be the 0.5 motion here. And so if I show you what it looks like, we're now going to be doing a step. In fact, we're going to be using cross steps here that typically we don't do very often when I say. So usually when I say cross steps, we're doing our cross steps here. So most of we go is forward or to this angle here. Now we're going to do the cross steps that come over the lead leg. So I'm going to be crossing my cross step over the lead foot now when I do this. Which is something we don't do very often. And that's because if the attacker was here, basically when I do a cross step over, it does kind of put me in a bad position. My weapon's out of the way, and now I am now open because my shoulder and back is turned. So we don't use these very often. Plus also it's kind of tripping up your feet. You're kind of tangling and crossing over your feet here. But it has its place. It has its place all the time, especially when you need it because, oh no, you need to start moving your head for maybe some safety or avoidance to get it out of the way. So basically here I'll show you, we'll do a skip plus cross plus the Cowboy pivot just to reorientate ourselves back to the attacker. So it looks something like this here. Now what happens is here, if I was just to do the skip and the cross step, skip, cross, and I've kind of did a big head motion, maybe to avoid some type of attack. Right now, the attacker is still in that area. So what I need to do now is do my Cowboy step pivoting, where the rear leg moves to the open side, which is over here. And what's going to happen is I'm going to pivot off the lead leg. And so here, because my attacker is here, here's my pivot, here's my step, which is the Cowboy step front, and then there we go. I can reorientate myself back to where the attacker was. You don't do this step often. This is why it's I'm showing it a little bit later. But when you need it, it's going to probably keep you safe. Because maybe I was advancing with my skip step to this direction. Now because my weight and my balance has come onto this leg, all of a sudden I've now needed to shift my head, maybe for avoidance and prevention, maybe even for slipping purposes later. I now need to move. But what happens is as I'm moving, my weight's on this leg, I can't move it anymore. So this leg now, because I'm going in this direction, is now going to continue with a cross step, so I can continue with my head movement in this direction. And then basically from here, to reorientate myself back, that's when I can do that pivot step. So from here, the rear leg, because all my weight went onto this foot as I stepped. So this is my next foot to step, and from here I can step as I pivot. That helps me orientating. I can do the exact same thing from a cross step. Maybe I was advancing forward with a cross step. Weight's going onto here. Then I needed to shift my head for avoidance. And now to continue this motion, because if I don't step, I might fall. I will bring my cross step forward, then to reorientate back to the attacker and get ready with my guard up. From here, I'll do that Cowboy step pivot. And remember what that one was. Here's my weight's gone into this one. I need to move this one. The Cowboy step pivots move to the open side. Here's my open. Here's my closed. And from here, this one will pivot. There we go, and I've reorientated myself back here. If I do it a bit quicker for you, it might look something like that. So now utilizing that stepping with that cowboy step pivot, we looked at it just in advance. Now we can actually do that same type of stepping, that 2.5, where I do a step, then another step, and then a pivot to reorientate myself. We can do it in retreat as well. So we just looked at it in advance. So in retreat, this is what it would look like. So what happens is here is maybe I've done a skip step in retreat because I was avoiding attacks or being surprised, and basically I'll step backwards here. I can step back, maybe even step at 45 slightly. But what happens is here, once I've done that step, all my weight has gone onto this foot, so now this foot is on my weight needs to step. But now I feel like I'm still in range of attacks. I'm probably moving my head to avoid it here. And then what happens is here, if I've stepped in this direction and my head moves this way, I'm gonna have to do a cross step to stay upright here. And then basically here, there's my skip step. My head movement's going this way, I'll do a cross step. Now from here, this is where I'll do that cowboy step pivot. So again, remember with those ones, the rear leg is going to move to the open side. Here is my open side. Right now, this is my closed. So from here, to reorientate, because my attacker is coming in here, then basically I'm going to do that pivot off that foot, and I've just stepped to reorientate myself to the attacker. If I do that once more, flow for you, I've done my skip step, there's my cross step with big head avoidance, and then I've reorientated myself. And then I can also do this left foot forward again. Maybe I went backwards or 45 with a cross step, weight's gone here, but my head movement is still going this direction because I need to break the line of the attacker here. And then from here, I'm going to do a cross step to help keep myself upright and to move off the line. And then from here, cowboy step pivot, rear foot to open side, pivot, and that will bring me back and around to reorientate towards the attacker here. Here's another type of movement that will come in handy here, is we're going to look at L steps. Now L steps are used in retreat, and sometimes you can use this tactically, but you're going to want to know this, especially if you get caught out and maybe surprised and you've kind of stepped backwards. Now you can do this stepping backwards with a skip step, or maybe you've done a cross step. But maybe you found here it wasn't enough because the attackers keep coming onto you. So what happens is on that line, I need to break the line. Because even if I did this here and regathered myself, the attackers are on top of me still, maybe with their own momentum forward or with their strikes. So once again, bigger, stronger, more dangerous attacks, I need to get off this line. And so what happens is here is called an L step because I'm stepping back and then I need to break the line really, really quickly. And usually going to be breaking roughly horizontally. This is why it's called a L step. And so what happens is here, if I'll show you, I'll do one with a skip step. So it's going to be a skip step, then another skip step. And then what I'll do is a quick pivot. You don't have to think about even the pivot too much. You just pivot to orientate yourself back to where the attacker was. So here, this is what it looks like. Here, I've gone back like so. And once more, done my skip step. Now I've put all this weight onto this leg here, but I feel like I'm still in the line of the attacker. I need to get off this. And then from here, I need to break the line, but all the weight's on this leg. So from here, this leg here is now going to step out. Here, there's my L step. Then from here, once I got to this point, the attacker is coming here, maybe forward to me. And then from here, I just want to orientate myself back towards the attacker. And whether when you step here, you have the foot at the front, or the foot to behind, different types of pivot steps here, it doesn't matter, whichever you need. Obviously, if I'm stepping and breaking the line here, and I reset back to here, okay, I'm a little bit closer, it's not even too much of a pivot, but if I did the skip step, then a skip step here, I wanted to create more space in recovery, and then I would just do a big pivot here, and now open up more space. And I will do the same thing, but now with a cross step, then a skip step. I can also go backwards with my lead leg to make it a cross step. But as I went backwards with my cross step, Now all the weight's on this leg, I need to get off the line, and so what happens is here is I'll do that skip step on this side now, and then I can reorientate like so, or I can do my cross step, do my big skip step, and then from here I can then orientate with pivot step.